This video is brought to you by Brilliant. McDonald's is struggling right now. The burger giant reported recently that their quarterly profits were down a huge 12%. On top of that, sales fell 1% year on year in the second quarter. And while 1% might not sound like much, this is the first time since COVID that McDonald's has reported such a slump, leading to endless stories worrying about the declining health of Ronald's empire. So let's unpack what's really going on at the Golden Arches and why they've seen such a significant downturn. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. When you look at the articles discussing the crisis at McDonald's, you generally find two issues being repeatedly blamed: boycotts and the decreasing consumer demand. But are these theories actually true? Let's start with the boycotts. Last year, McDonald's hit the headlines when it was revealed that their franchisee in Israel, Omri Padan, was giving free meals to the Israeli military who were conducting operations in Gaza in the days following October the 7th. Now, McDonald's franchise structure is part of what has made it so successful in the first place, allowing independent business owners to leverage the McDonald's brand in exchange for a share of profits. This might have helped them grow into the market-dominating, burger-slinging business they are today, but it also means that huge responsibilities are spread around the world to different franchisees. Franchisees who might, say, weigh in on one of the world's most contentious disputes with some free Big Macs. In response, this April, McDonald's announced that they were taking back control of all 225 restaurants in Israel, effectively wresting back control from Padan in the nicest, most corporate way possible, with them saying, "We thank Alonial Limited for building the McDonald's business and brand in Israel over the past 30 years, and emphasizing their commitment to the Israeli market." It's hard to tell exactly how much impact all of this has had, but the chain did acknowledge that sales slumps did seem higher in countries with higher Muslim populations, consistent with the claim that pro-Palestine consumers are dodging the Golden Arches following the controversy. In fact, in Europe, France saw one of the largest declines, with the McDonald's CEO saying France is one of the markets that has a higher Muslim population. And so, when you think about the Middle East, the impact we're seeing in France has been more than maybe in other markets because of that population. It's not just people boycotting McDonald's because of their connection with the war in Gaza. People are supposedly also boycotting them because of the price of their food. Right now, many households are feeling significantly less flush than they did during the pandemic, when government programs and limited spending opportunities boosted demand for food delivery. Plus, food is just getting much more expensive. Thanks to post-pandemic inflation, the price of the average meal eaten out of home has jumped 30% since 2019, making restaurants and fast food spots significantly more expensive, even outstripping broader inflationary trends. That puts McDonald's in a tricky spot. It's certainly not an expensive premium food outlet, but with the cost of a Big Mac jumping by 27% since 2019, and many other menu items also outpacing inflation, it's not exactly cheap either. McDonald's is taking action to address this, with the launch of their new $5 meal in the US. The hope is that this will boost sales, and to be fair, early data does suggest it's driven up footfall in a number of locations. However, it's a little too soon to tell how successful this will be, with the rollout starting so recently that it's not yet showing up in the financial data. They're doing similar things in other markets too. France, which is also experiencing a decline in demand, as I mentioned earlier, is seeing McDonald's introduce a new €4 Happy Meal to entice families back. They're not the only ones pursuing this plan either. Burger King is pledging to beat McDonald's to the punch with their own $5 value meal, Wendy's rolling out a $3 breakfast offer, and Starbucks introducing a $6 breakfast sandwich and coffee order. The problem is, though, this might not be quite the right strategy. Some definitely are abandoning McDonald's because it's getting too expensive for their stretched budgets, but just cutting costs might not be the answer. Because, as we're seeing with what some have dubbed the $5 menu war, these price cuts can easily lead to a race to the bottom that's not good for anyone besides hungry customers. In fact, the right answer might be found not by looking at other fast food burger spots, but instead by casting an eye towards Chipotle. That's because, contrary to this narrative of declining consumer demand, the fast casual Mexican spot has actually seen sales rise. That might be a touch confusing. Chipotle is a fair bit pricier than McDonald's, so surely customers should be abandoning them even faster than McDonald's. Well, Chipotle's Q2 sales were up 18% when compared to the same quarter last year, with sales reaching $3 billion for the quarter. Chipotle's stock price is also up nearly 40% in the last year, better than the S&P 500, which is up 21.5%, and way better than McDonald's, which is down 6%. So why, despite selling more expensive premium products, is Chipotle booming while McDonald's is declining even with their $5 menu? Well, it certainly goes some way to show that this isn't just about consumption, as some people have suggested. People haven't just entirely stopped spending money in restaurants following inflationary price rises and squeezed wallets. Instead, it seems people are being more selective with where they spend their money. In fact, McDonald's CEO actually alluded to this in the most recent earnings call, not saying that customers weren't spending at all, but were, quote, more discriminating with their spend. As The Economist puts it, people are becoming picky, not panicky. As the cost of living puts pressure on households, they're choosing to just eat at home more often, especially as the price of spots like McDonald's is rising faster than groceries. However, in many instances, people aren't panicking. They're just being more selective with their treats, choosing to splurge on something that feels healthier, more premium, and better value, rather than the golden arches. That's certainly not true for all households, with many not having the luxury to be so selective. But it seems that while McDonald's is being perceived as a less good, valuable, and skippable option, chains like Chipotle are still attracting the spare dollars that consumers have left over. As McDonald's said in their earnings report,
at the end of the day, we expect customers will continue to feel the pinch of the economy and a higher cost of living for at least the next several quarters in this very competitive landscape.
That may well be true, but they're going to have to learn from competitors like Chipotle that consumers don't necessarily just want the cheapest option. They also want to feel like they're getting good value, which, feels kind of obvious, right? There's a lot of difficult decisions to make here, and making huge decisions is difficult, even for world leaders. The good thing is that Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data, programming, and AI. Their interactive classes help build your critical thinking skills through problem solving, not memorizing. So while you're building real knowledge on specific topics, you'll also be becoming a better thinker. For instance, their Predicting with Probability course can help you better understand and assess the world around you. You can learn to wrangle massive data sets, compare distributions, and master fundamental concepts like Bayes' theorem. That might sound a little technical, but with their active learning, you learn this by answering questions like which airline is least likely to have a delay due to weather, and how much more unruly airline passengers have gotten since the pandemic. Data skills are absolutely necessary for navigating the modern world, and Brilliant is the best way to get them. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/TLDR, or click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription.